This is Roger Struckoff with Syscon TV at Cloud Expo East in New York in the year 2015, believe it or not. Joined by old friend Charles Fiesel, who is up to something new. Look there. Okay. InnovateNow.today is his new venture, which is part of what he's doing. Welcome again. Let's talk a little bit about the new venture and also whatever else is on your mind.
Well, it's great to see you. I think this is possibly, we go back to the days of the Ajax world, and
Yes.
you know, it's very interesting. A few minutes ago across the ABC News posted that the Office of Professional Management, that their cloud servers were hacked for over a year, that actually China has been sitting inside of their servers for over a year and accessing all of the materials related to security clearances for over a year. This was just posted on ABC News a few minutes ago. And so that's really what InnovateNow.today is focusing on in terms of governance models. There seems to be a lack of governance models. We can look at the user experience as it relates to data transformation. We can look at user experience as it relates to cloud computing, but without governance models, the cloud is going to start to implode. I mean, when you look at, you have a major bank here in New York City that does the registration for their road races in Central Park, and a hacker was able to get into the JP Morgan cloud by accessing personal information of 4 million people. So these issues, it's not just the smart banks and our government, but it's the small companies that are utilizing the cloud. So data transformation as it relates to the user experience of governance models is what we're really going to be focusing on.
When are people going to wake up?
I got to tell you something. We were talking about things like this about 10 years ago when people were first talking about the cloud. And I remember you gave a talk and you said we should exercise caution. And I think a lot of the caution, people were very focused on selling their services instead of looking at the things that needed to be in place, the checks and balances.
Yeah, we get to the end of the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, we forget.
Right. So I think that not only governance models, but what are these side doors? The internal user experience, the external user experience. One of the new buzzwords this year is microservices, and you and I were chatting about that last year, containers and microservices. And again, I feel like I'm listening to JJ and Jeremy Allaire back in 1997 when they created the Cold Fusion, and those initial tags actually were snippets of code which would create a certain type of functionality. And basically, that's what microservices are. It's a snippet of code that really creates some sort of response to the database. Right. And so we're really going back to the best practices that were set up by some of the internet's, first public, I'm not going to say founders, but really the people who really built, the best practices from 20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think because of Moore's Law and a little more responsible actions by telcos to deploy bandwidth, that now, the hardware has caught up to some of the thinking that was going on a long time ago.
Right, and I think that we were in such a rush to create an impactful experience with cloud services that we've lost some of the smaller threads that really people's lives depend on. And we find out that everybody's banking records are available. For 4 million people's banking records are available because they didn't have the governance model in place to have a registration server for a road race. I mean, you can't even make that stuff up. It's absolutely mind-boggling, but this is not just the big banks or the government, it's every place.
Again, they get focused on the endpoint and they forget along the way there's some very important things they have to do. You're not going to drive down the road without doors in your car, but it just seems like people do that in cyberspace.
Well, I think one of the most impactful changes is about to happen. And I've always been technology agnostic. I have worked with many, many different vendors. I think that Microsoft, with the deployment of Windows 10 across mobile, across Xbox, across all Surface environments, I think with the relationship of Windows 10 to Azure, that people are going to be able to deploy these microsites or these brand sites in such a manner that they're going to have built-in governance policies right from the get-go. But regardless, they're going to need to create process models. We have to get back to some of those foundational constructs. But I think now the infrastructure I've been on the Insider program with Windows 10, and it just, I got to tell you, this is a game-changing environment. Azure is absolutely, Windows 10 is a game-changing environment, and I don't work for Microsoft. Right. But the key thing is that it allows people to look at what are some of the checks and balances that are in place. So I think that a lot of the big players out there are really starting to say, hey, we're responsible. We're responsible for people's data in a different sort of way. It's no longer about let's get this huge drive in the cloud out there so people can store things. We have to help them, because just having a great TV commercial with somebody with hair blowing in the wind and cool sunglasses and saying this is our brand, that's no longer good. This is our money, this is our livelihood. Yeah. So and there's a new sense of responsibility that's here at this event. Yeah,
there's that sort of headlong plunge is gone, but I was saying the other day, we went from what is cloud to why should I do it to how do I do it to, oh, I've done it now what do I do? And that's kind of shows the maturity of it. But tell people again, though, no matter how cautious they are, why they should contact you and where they can find you.
They can just reach me at charles@innovatenow.today, and we can chat about governance models and data transformation in the cloud.
Beautiful. Charles, thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching. Always good to see you.
Good to see you.
It's right there. You can't miss it. Thanks for watching one more time. For Syscon TV, this is Roger Struckoff.
Thank you.